What's happening, Coach? Hey, listen, do you want to connect with your players more so that they know the installs, what you're doing, how to attack each week? Well, you're going to be in for a treat, man. I got Coach Yashinsky. Did I say it right?
Yep, you got it.
Heck yeah. We're going to be talking about how to use Google Classroom with your team so that y'all are all on the same page. And this actually helps us now because, with what's going on and everything, you don't know who's going to get quarantined, who's going to sit out, all of that. So, Coach, real quick, for those that don't know you and everything that you do, could you just give us a little background, where you're at, what you do, and everything like that?
Yeah, name's Tom Yashinsky. I'm head coach, offensive coordinator on Alaska High School, Wisconsin. We're right on the border of Minnesota. We're down near the tri-state area. Iowa is not too far south of where we are. I've been here now. This is my 14th year on Alaska. My 10th as the head coach. And we are we're a spread team, but we like to run the ball. We're kind of known. We have the reputation of chucking it because a couple of years ago we had a couple of really good kids that we threw the ball all over the yard, but we really do like to run the ball. We're a power counter gap scheme team, and we like to take vertical shots. And the last 3-4 years we've really incorporated fly sweep into there. And we're a young team this year, inexperienced. Only got about 9 seniors, so wow. We're a school of 950. Which puts us in Division III in Wisconsin. Division I is the biggest division in Wisconsin. It goes down to Division VII. So it puts us right at the top of Division III enrollment-wise. It's been an interesting last couple of years with everything that's been going on. But we're heading into week 6 of our season here this Friday.
Okay. Have you been quarantined, or have you had games canceled or anything like that? Or has it been roughly pretty much smooth sailing?
It hasn't been smooth sailing. There's been a lot of teams like the people that we played last Friday, they actually canceled for this Friday because they had some stuff pop up. The thing is, every school handles it different. Our school is a little different in how we handle things. We're not as aggressive of quarantining and everything right now. So we have had some kids that have to sit out, and we have some kids that are sitting out this week, and that's just kind of part of it right now. But we haven't had anybody cancel yet. We haven't had to cancel yet, and hopefully we can keep that on the
yes.
Keep that ship in the water. So we'll see. You never know. You just hold your breath until Friday.
Well, the good thing is that if they do, or if you have to take a practicer off, you've kind of developed a pretty cool thing with the Google Apps, and I want to get in with that. Also, I want to touch on the shotgun sweep because that's kind of fun, and I like that. But coaches, if you have any questions, go ahead, put them in the chat, and we will ask them. Chase, what's going on, man? I'm glad you're here. And Fanatic, thank you so much. You finally did catch it. Now, what made you go to Google? Have you always been a Google Slides kind of guy, or did you just stumble upon the Google Suite and you're like, you know what, this would be pretty cool if we could incorporate it with our team?
So it was one of those things where people started using Google Classroom at school a while ago, and we've been a Google school for probably almost 10 years, almost the whole time I've been a teacher. And before, everything was PowerPoint and nothing upload. I didn't like how Huddle's presentations worked. Yeah, they weren't good. So I didn't want to use them, and I'd make something in PowerPoint, and then you try to import it. And then our school got rid of all PowerPoint on computers. They just said you're using Google, so PowerPoint was gone. So we started making everything in Google, and then in order to get it into Huddle, you had to export it as a PowerPoint and then put it in. It was just a pain in the butt. So I said, all right, we're just going to use Google Slides. And for a while, I would just make them and then show the kids. And then I thought, but why wouldn't I just make a Google Classroom and have it on there so that when the kids go to watch everything, they can, it's all there, and we each week is a topic. We go week 1, week 2, week 3. We have our preseason stuff. I have a video or a slide in there that has all of our formations. We're a no huddle team, and I recorded myself signaling all of those formations. And that is in there. So all they have to do is click on, all right, what does rip deuce look like? They click on it. I'm giving the hand signal for it. I told the kids I will not put our plays in there because if that slide got out, that's free scouting report for somebody that's picking our plays. But our formations and all that stuff is in there. All of our plays are drawn up in there. So a kid can no longer come to me and say, hey, where do we have a playbook? Yeah, sure we do. It's all there from every formation. Everything's drawn up. go look at it. If you don't know what it is, then it's on you at this point, because we've given you access to everything.
I like that, because now you're putting it back on the kid. Like, it used to be, hey, the coach wouldn't have a playbook, or he's not teaching me enough, or maybe I missed. But now you're like, hey, no, this is everything. Now you can dive into it. And on that, how did your kids act? Were they like, oh, this is freaking awesome? Or were they like, man, I don't care about this, I'm not going to log in? What did it do?
So the kids, and actually Alex Kirby had a good string on this the other day, where it said, you do the detailed things, because there might only be 4 or 5 kids that actually want all the details that you give them. But for those 4 or 5 kids, it's important. And your most bought in kids, they're also going to teach the other kids. So, and it's good for you, right? It's a good practice for you, because you look it over and go, man, that doesn't look right. Like, I didn't, whatever I put on there, that's not going to work once you look at it a second time. So, I got a handful of kids that dive in, look at everything. And I'm sure I have a majority of kids that don't look at anything. But I can always refer back and say, hey, our install video is there. Like, one of our starting free safety wasn't at practice today because he was sick. And I looked at our backup free safety and I said, hey, did you watch the install video Coach Bushman put up? I said, what? All right. And when they're in this formation, what's your read? And he said, yep, guard this and this. And so our backup free safety is watching it. Kids are getting stuff out of it.
And you can track some stuff, because I know you also, you do quizzes.
We can do quizzes. Yep. That's something that for the coach tube, I put that in there. It isn't something I've dove into and used a ton yet, but it's definitely a tool in the toolbox that is pretty easy if we wanted to. So I have the team subscription for Just Play, and Just Play has their quiz features on there. But I think going forward, I'll probably just go with the personal subscription for Just Play for $150 or $200 a year and use the Google quizzes, because I can put just about everything on those and save myself $800, which Just Play doesn't want to hear. But $800, that's 3 more helmets and whatnot.
Yeah, it is. And also what I like about the Google Forms, because I've used it sometimes in my classroom. I'm going to start using it with the team later on, is you can actually create quizzes and they grade them for you.
Yep.
So then the players get instant feedback and you get instant feedback. You're like, oh, okay, well, maybe I need to touch on this thing on defense a little bit more, or this thing on offense, which, I mean, we really don't know. That helps us, because we say our test for players on Friday. If we can test them a little bit every single day, maybe they will retain a little bit more information.
And I think it's huge for like preseason and like those first 2 weeks before you get into games, where you're trying to get more reps out of your JV and you're just not sure how to do it, because dang it, you gotta get the varsity ready for a scrimmage. But if you can quiz them on, those little things, and if you can just gain your kids some football knowledge, what's a 3 technique, what's a 4 technique, what's a 4-eye, all those little things that they oftentimes just they just don't have football knowledge. So if you can find a way to build that into them, so that later in the season you got something to build off of, I think it's a pretty helpful tool.
Now, do you put stuff in there like every single day, every single week? How does that structure work? And do the kids know? Do you have to remind the kids, or does it, the moment you put it in there, you tell your kids, hey, put the alerts on so you know when we post stuff?
I think most of them know. If you go to the screen share,
yes, sir.
I'll show you. So, like, it's usually a Sunday night thing. So, like, I'll put our game plan for what we're going to install, keys to the week, how they're going to align, how I think they're going to align anyways. And then any plays that we got coming in, what's our trick play for the week going to be? This was wide open. Our kid dropped it. Would have helped. We lost by 3. So what's the new stuff and why do we like it? I don't draw up all the base stuff, because we know how to do that. But what's the new stuff, the new adjustments? And then so that's always in there from an offensive perspective. And then my defensive coordinator, what he started doing was he puts an install. He screen records an install of him talking through each position group's alignments, reads, and everything like that they're going to see this week. And he attaches, 4 or 5 clips of film to it. He'll draw on this while he's doing it. and it's really detailed. And now we don't have to meet as long on Monday when we're doing our install with our kids. We can get out on the field a little bit sooner. And the other thing is, when we meet on Mondays, you got kids that don't play any defense in the room, and you're sitting there. Our coaching staff's not big enough. Our JV coaches are out coaching JV, and they coach varsities. Our coaching staff's not big enough to separate offense, defense, and we have kids that play both ways. But you also have kids that don't, and they don't want to sit in there and listen for 45 minutes as you're explaining the whole defensive game plan to them. When you can say, "Hey, kids, come in. You're going to watch this. I know you're on your phone Monday during school. You might as well watch this instead." And you got the knowledge, and you come to practice knowing the game plan, and then we just talk over the finer parts. The other thing that I did in the not the preseason, but like the first couple of weeks, is I would screen record my notes over film. So instead of putting notes on huddle film, which is good, but it's not the same as watching it with kids, I would screen record me watching the film and drawing on the film with the kid, as I'm going through it. So this is this says not be a 30 minutes. And not every kid's going to watch it all, but if the offensive line watches the first 10, which is inside run, and the quarterbacks watch the second 10, which is sevens, and then the team and everybody watches the last 10, which is team, then they got actual coaching that we didn't have to take practice time for. The kids that want to get better are going to get better. The kids that weren't going to pay attention probably aren't paying attention to your team meeting either. So instead of writing on huddle, which is slow in my opinion, I just screen record me talking over the top of it and gave them the information that way. So I do that. One of the things I would do is I would upload it as a private YouTube link, because it was easier for them to watch on a device on YouTube than Google Classroom. They can scrub it then and go forward 10, 12, 20 seconds. So I love it for that.
Now, have you created two separate classrooms, one for offense or one for defense, or is this all just one football class and you're saying, "Hey guys, you've got to figure out where the offense and defensive stuff is"?
It's all one, so we just label it like this first one right here, offensive game plan, and then everything that the defensive coordinator puts in as defense. So the kids know what they're looking for. I only post one thing. So I post the game plan which has the slides, and then it's a video of me talking over some film, some scout film, and some slides and the slides that we have. And then off-season stuff or general stuff, just under a defensive topic and an offensive topic. I'm going to find my where's my formations?
Now, do you create a brand new Google class every single year, or do you just use the same one, and then if the kids graduate, you just kick them out and bring in the new ones?
Yep. When they graduate, I just kick them out, bring in the new ones, and keep it the same one. And then I just move everything down to, I think I have like a previous year stuff where I just grab all those topics and move them down.
Right.
It's good. I like it to reference back sometimes. But yeah, I don't kick it out, or I don't want to create a new one every year. So this is like all of our past stuff, and this needs to get updated a little bit. I need to put some more stuff in here. But what I did was I made it so the first slide, if they click present, it has the whole menu of pass options on there. Now, if they click on it, it brings up that passing play. And then they have a home button that takes them back to that main one every time. So if they're like, what does boss look like out of rip trips? It's there. And then they're like, all right, well, okay, go back. What does devils look like out of, so they have all of those in front of them. And I have one of those for our run game as well. And
are you very proficient in Google?
Yeah. And I'm a techie. I got a Stream Deck, like we were talking beforehand. I got a Stream Deck and all that stuff. So it's technology is just part of my coaching style. I'm always looking for something new to integrate with technology.
Okay, so let's say I am a older coach. I don't want to say anything derogatory. That I want to start using this though. Like, what is maybe 3 things that you'd be like, hey, this is so simple. You should do this, this, and this. And you would have you can start using this.
So I think that the first thing is the Google Classroom. If and part of this is your school has to be a Google school to have a Google
I think a
Classroom.
lot of them are.
Most of them are, not all, but most of them are. But it's not. I don't think the Google Classroom is like a standalone thing you can use if you're not part of an educational group. But first thing would be Google Classroom, and then topicking your stuff. So make it into topics so that it easily is findable, and you can see on the left hand side here where if you want to go through everything, it's on there. So that's my first thing, in my opinion.
Okay.
The second thing, I think that it's the easiest way to do a playbook is either in Huddle or Just Play. I prefer Just Play. Huddle or Just Play, and then screenshot it and put it into Google Slides. I think that's an easier way for kids to have everything organized than if you just tell them it's in Huddle or whatnot. So that's how I do it. And then the third thing, first of all, I think you get good at those 2 things first. And then the third thing is screen record. And there's free ones like Screencastify. I think you can do 5 or 10 minute screencastings. I think you can pay like $2 a month for the unlimited version of Screencastify. I use Wondershare, Uniconverter. That's my choice. I think I paid $75 for a lifetime license or whatever. But that's that. Google Classroom, using Google Slides and making a playbook that way, and then screen recording would be my 3 things that if you want to do this, that's how you can get the information to your kids in the best, most efficient way possible.
Heck yeah, man. I love that. And then also you can use, talking about the free stuff, loom.com. You can use that. That's free. If you want to go down the rabbit hole, you can use OBS and set everything up. If you want to do that, I think StreamYard is free for like 45 minutes. If you keep that under 45 minutes so there's a lot of stuff for screen recording. And I like how you say, and then you use YouTube, which is free.
Mm-hmm. So and Zoom, right? So everybody's using Zoom right now for school. Yes. You just pop open a Zoom on your own and screen record it. You don't even need anybody else in the meeting. I've seen a lot of guys use that.
You can also use Google Meets if you have a Google School and do that. So you can literally use all this stuff, coaches, and set it up for free. And then you can start talking, because we were talking off air. You said this helped you a lot during last year when we were just like, oh crap, what's going on and everything like that. Could you talk about a little bit like how this helped so much last year?
So we actually were virtual. They let us play football, but school was 100% virtual. Yeah. And we had to have 1 off day a week where it was virtual practice to limit contacts with kids. So we had virtual Mondays, and all of our game plan and all that stuff was Mondays. So we got on, and everything was in Google Classroom. They knew the kids were using Google Classroom because that's all they did for school. And they actually got really proficient with email and with checking Google Classroom. And you can use quizzes, like if you want, you can put quizzes on there, make Google quizzes. I have a template. I think it's in my Coach Tube for how to grade offensive line film using a Google form. And the way I do it is you take your phone. I'd probably take an iPad is what I do. But take an iPad and you open this Google form up, and you have your you can pop that open, because that's a free one. But it has you put your own grading in there, and then if there's mistakes that you automatically want to have on there, you put it in there. So there it is. Like our way we grade is just 0 or 1, and then some feedback that you have. And what it does is it gives you enter the play number. You grade your 5 guys or 6 guys, however many you're grading. You hit submit, and then you simply hit create another submission, and then you do the same thing for each play. At the end of it, you have a full tabulated thing of all of your snaps that you can find your percentage for, or however you want to grade your film. All that stuff is editable. But the best part of it is, if you want your kids to see their grade on every play, you just make them custom columns on Huddle and import that into Huddle, and your kids, your offensive linemen, can see, all right, I got a 0 on this play. And why did I get a 0? Because I took a false step or whatever your coaching cues are. The key for me is make it all stuff that's drop-down boxes or clickable so that it's quick, right? You can't type a note for every lineman, every play. You can't do that. So make it quick. 4 options. Most of your mistakes are going to fall into one of those, right? A false step, wrong assignment, whatever it might be. I just put some examples on there, but
no, I like this, and this is something that you can easily do because I know I use pencil and paper, and that's very tedious. This you can have if you have 2 screens and they match up, and I like that you can put that into Huddle because kids want to know. They don't want to have to wait until the next day whenever they see you during homeroom or something like that. This is you can instantly get that, and this is amazing. And coaches, if you want to know about his course, it's in the link down below. I'm going to be honest. I was looking for ways to get better at practice, and I stumbled upon this, and it's pretty cool, man. It's in the bottom and everything.
I tell you, the reason I like the iPad idea or a phone for as your second screen, like you said, 2 screens, but the reason I like an iPad or another device is because then you never have to switch your hands off the keyboard for the scrubbing of the film, because I think that's one of the biggest pains in the butt with Huddle is like if you're working on 2 screens, you're always stuck where it's not moving the film. As soon as you click on this screen over here, it's not moving the film anymore. So if you just get an iPad or your phone and you can move, you can sit there with your remote or whatever it is, and you're never worried about having to get back into the film window to go next play or to fast forward slow motion.
I freaking love that. And coaches,
I'm just all about efficiency. I hate wasting time.
I love that. So if you want, links in the description below, check it out. It is unbelievable. I want to transition a little bit because the shotgun fly. Why the shotgun fly?
We always have some athletes, right? We always have our linemen are not always our best kids. Actually, they're never our best kids. I always tell our offensive line coach, I said, it's like the Statue of Liberty. Give me your sick, your weak, your poor. Just give us 4 years and we'll make an offensive lineman out of them. Because they're kind of our outcasts. I'll tell you right now, our center this year, he played wide receiver last year.
Wow.
He's a squatty kid. He didn't play it well, but that's where he lined up. He was a squatty kid, super strong in the weight room, and he wasn't going to touch the field at wide receiver because we got some good athletes out there. And I said, hey, we need a center. And he worked all summer at snapping, and he does a pretty darn good job for us given the circumstance this year. So we needed some deception. We're a gap scheme team. I'm not a zone guy right now. That might be something we dabble in the offseason, but I'm not a zone guy right now. But we needed something to get people moving and to try and get people out of the box. So we've had some speed, had some really fast kids, 18, 19, 20. And one of them was a D1 track athlete last year. So we're going to run the fly. And it first started as just running the fly. And then it started as, all right, we're going to run power counter off of the fly. And then it turned into, we're going to run the fly and we're going to take deep shots off of it. And we had a year, I think it was probably 2017 or 18, where we had so many guys wide open off of play action fly sweep because we were getting to run the fly sweep so well that people were committing safeties and corners were jumping and we just got wide open shots. Our quarterback probably had 6 or 7 touchdowns off wide open guys. Like you always say, if you can get 1-on-1, it's a good matchup. But if you can get 1-on-none, you're going to win that one more than you're going to lose. And then this past season in 2020, then we got into the fly and then running the quarterback off the fly. And this year we've struggled a little bit with it. We're a little bit more inexperienced. We have a really good athlete that can run it, but he's not as crafty as the kid we had last year. The kid we had last year was really good at knowing how to dip in and then out, or how to out and then in. And then he always knew that, because teams start flying upfield on you. When you start running the fly, they start coming upfield and trying to make you cut that thing fast. And what he knew how to do was how to make that one cut and then back out to the outside right away. And I always tell him, when you make a cut with the fly, it's vertical and then back to the outside. You can't cut back. If you cut back, you're getting into linebackers and all that stuff. So it's vertical and then back outside. And we love running it out of just a ton of formations. I love running it from empty, because when you get to empty, a lot of times people back off. They get scared when you get into empty. They think you're going to throw it. So we run out of empty. We'd run it out of empty with a tight end wing. And then off all of those, we had play action passes and boots and different concepts just to get people running. So we're still working on trying to get it going this year. We are so raw up front that and it seems like you're playing with a different combination of guys every week because of COVID and all that stuff.
Yes.
So it's been a little bit of a challenge. We've had some good weeks of it, not as many as we've liked, and people are starting to try and stop it now. The other part of it was we haven't been as good up front as we've needed to be, so people can commit to the fly and not have to worry about the power counter game as much as they had in the last 2 years. If we got better at that part, I think our fly would open up because people wouldn't be able to just run up field and stuff it. But so a combination of things of why we aren't as good at it this year, but something will still a main part of our offense.
Now, when you started out, I'm sure, do you toss it or do you hand it?
This year we do the tap pass. Okay. The past couple of years, and I'll be honest, the whole reason we tap pass it is for our quarterback. Just helps him out, he gets more yards and whatnot. Like that literally is the only reason. We're padding stats. That's why we short pass.
Nothing wrong with that, man.
Right. I'll be full disclosure on it. Previously we had handed it off. Part of it is the kid that's getting the ball. What do they prefer? If they're a running back, which we have oftentimes used our running back in that role where we call it jump. So we start him in the backfield and we jump him down and then we run fly sweep with him.
Oh, wow.
Then we've always handed it off because he's used to taking a handoff. This year it's our wide receiver that's getting the ball more often than not. So we've passed it to him. Prior to that, we've always been a handoff team prior to this year.
Okay. Did you stumble? How'd you stumble upon it? And is it because of Mark
Speckman?
Thank you.
How did I stumble upon the fly sweep?
What made you go, you know what? I'm running this.
I hated defending the wing T. Like I hated good wing T teams. And it was always something that it just stresses defense. What I love about it is that it stresses defenses horizontally to open up vertical shots from the gun. I did see Mark Speckman. I actually saw him speak at a clinic in Alaska in 2004.
Oh, wow.
The All-Alaska Football Clinic, still going strong up there. And I always had a kind of a intrigue for like the under center fly offense. Never dove in with it, but everywhere I've been, I've tried to add it in some fashion or another, whether it was under center or gun. I've tried to add the fly in. And then we just started running it. We had a kid that we needed a way to get a kid touches, right? I mean, like you always have those kids where it's like, this kid's got to get 10 to 15 touches a game somehow. And he was a wide receiver, and it was the fly sweep. And then the next year, it was like, all right, it's our running back, but we need to get him out of the perimeter, but we don't want to toss it. So let's get him down into the slot and let's run a fly sweep with him. And since then, it's been, who's that kid that we need to get the fly to? And I love when we have running backs that can also do it, like when we have wide receivers and running backs. This year, my running backs cannot run the fly. They are hammers. They are big kids that run downhill, power counter. If we ran a fly with them, they'd actually probably just laugh at us if we tried to do that. Yeah, right. They'd let us. So this year, we're a little less dynamic than we were last year when we had a running back that could go out and do it. But coming up, we'll find that kid again.
Okay. I always have to ask this because to me, it keeps going back and forth. Have you ever tried the rocket or like toss? And if you have, do you not like it? Because it feels like everyone gets into the wing tee. And then to get on the edge, they do either one of two things. They either put in the fly like you or they go the rocket. And I always like to ask why one over the other.
I don't like the rocket out of the gun because you're tossing the ball deeper into the backfield. I love the rocket under center. I love it as a flex bone option team. I've never coached the wing tee, but I have coached flex bone option. And I loved it out of that. And I love like compressing splits and running it out of that and then going like twins over, and running out of that. And I love that you never had to block the interior guys, just everybody release and go. But I don't like it out of the gun because it doesn't give you the same deception that the fly does. So the fly, you can very easily fake here and then give power counter, fake here, power counter, quarterback, whatever it is. But the rocket, if you have to turn your back, it doesn't give you that other inside run game that hits quick. And our guys aren't good up front. They're not good enough up front to block forever. So it's got to hit quick for us. Otherwise we're losing yards.
Do you keep do you just have one guy that runs the fly, or can you run it to everyone on the defense? Offense, theoretically, if you wanted
to. We rep it with everybody to start the season. We have 1.5 guys this year that can run it. Like, we have one guy that is our guy, and we have another guy that we will give it to once in a while, just based on formation. But if I look at 2 years ago in 2019, we had 3 to 4 guys that could run it. And that's a special thing. But we know who the strength is, like who should run it. And we don't try to force a square peg into a round hole by having, like, I got a big 6'4", 6'3", like outside receiver. I'm not having him run it. Like, it's not, it doesn't help us. even he's not interested.
Now, what I have found, because I've dabbled from a couple of years ago into the fly, the kids got tired really fast. How do you combat that? Is that something that you kind of game plan for in your conditioning in your weight room, or do you run fly sweep every single play? Like, what's the thought process there?
No, we don't run it every single play. Like, there are some teams we're playing next week. They run a guy on fly motion just about every time. Now, the thing is, there's some game plans where it's kind of heavy in terms of, like, we're running fly a lot on a lot of our stuff this week. Where they get more tired is at practice, where you're going to go 15 or 20 reps of team offense in a row. I remember, I think it was 17 or 18. Our slot receiver just looks at me and goes, "Coach, like, come on, man. Like we can't run fly on every single play tonight." It's like, well, it's that's our game plan this week, is there's going to be a fake or something on every on whatever. So it's just part of it. We don't condition. We don't condition at all at practice. We don't condition at all as a program. So that's that guy's workout every day. And normally that guy that runs the fly doesn't play defense.
Okay.
So that kind of helps. Sometimes you got a Ferrari, right? And usually, like, our fly guy is the Ferrari. And I always tell our guys, coaches, like, you don't put the Ferrari in the demo derby. Like, that thing stands next to me when we're playing defense, and he's not out on kickoff team and things like that. That kid that's really good that you're going to run that with, he's kind of special. I try to protect him a little bit and keep him off of defense.
All right. So I want to talk about that dynamic. Do the other kids not like that? Or do they understand, like, hey, Jimmy over here is kind of, if Jimmy's going, we're all going. So let's not knock Jimmy for not doing these kind of things.
No, everybody's got their role. They know that. Like, we've gotten to a point as a program where kids are pretty good about understanding their role, and they know, and it doesn't have to be talked about. Like, yeah, this guy's not playing defense, but
understood.
By that point, we know. The other part of it is we try to get as few kids as possible playing both ways, or at least rotating in. We got about 4 or 5 corners this year that are rotating that also play wide receiver. So kids are pretty good about it. They know, and they also know that kid is also the reason we're going to score a lot of points. So,
yeah, don't bite the hand that feeds you, guys.
Right.
All right, I like that. Let's say that again. I'm an old coach. I want to get into the fly sweep. What would be the best 2 or 3 plays or formations that you're like, hey, if you want to dabble in this, dip your toe in? I know we all have to go in. You're not good at anything unless you go submerge yourself. But just to whet the appetite, this is what you should put in.
I think the first thing with the fly is you got to get into some compressed sets. And the reason I say that is because if you play a 3-4 team, and they got outside linebackers that are walking up, and you don't ever get into a compressed set, you will not be any good at running the fly, right? Like in my opinion, you have to get into some compressed sets that get them to back off a little bit, because typically the first thing people do in compressed sets is back off a little bit. They have to try and figure out who's covering who and whatnot. So I love compressed sets. The other thing that I think you have to do is understand like who's rotating where, right? So we played a team last year that every time we motioned, they spun because they were a man team. Their safety, they're 4-2-5 type team. Their safety would spin up. Their play side safety would spin down. So I feel bad for that kid that game because we ran him on fly every single play and we made them spin a bunch. So I like compressed sets. I like an unbalanced set. And you have to coach kids on who's blocking who. It doesn't matter what formation it is, as long as kids understand who's got who's got the force player. Is my running back, is he fitting to a corner or is he wrapping up to a safety? Are we going to crack guys? If you're going to crack guys, where's your alignment? So I always tell our wide receivers, if you're going to crack somebody, you better start tight, because as soon as that fly guy comes, that guy you're supposed to crack is going to move in and he's going to go. So you better set yourself up to where you can get him without blocking him in the back. And we've been pretty good about not getting blocks in the back for a while. Compressed sets, and then, what are your base formations? It's got to work from your base formations. Like, it can't be the only formation that you run the fly out of is one thing. If you don't run everything else out of it, then it's predictable. So we try to run it out of most of our formations and in different ways.
That's I love compressed formations, and you're absolutely right. You have to, because you don't want to give defense a key. Like, let's not make the defensive coordinator's jobs very, very easy, because that just sucks. So I appreciate it. Coaches, I am putting Coach's Twitter in the chat. Is there anywhere else they can get? Is Twitter the best place to get in touch with you if they want to learn how to run the fly sweep? Because I've already gotten DMs on Twitter already about this. Like, hey, let's dive some more into this. Is there a way I can send people? Is it to your Twitter, or is it an email? You have a website. Where can we go to learn more about what you do?
Twitter's the best. I'm on there quite a bit. If people want to email me, it's just coachyash@gmail.com. So Coach Yash, Coach, and then the first four of my last name there at gmail.com. I'll tell you, in season, I'll give you some time, but I don't have a ton of it, like with teaching and all that. I'll always answer questions, but I can't jump on a Zoom often with people and say, hey, what about this? What about that? I got close coaching friends that sometimes will send me stuff, but hey, man, I'd love to help you out, but we're trying to score points too. Like, we're 3-2. We're not world beaters right now.
Yeah. Not yet.
Not yet.
Fly and Google Classrooms, you're going to be unbelievable, Coach. I appreciate it. My wife is right there looking at me with my little boy right there. Anything else before we go, though, besides get your courses, which you can find in the description below?
No, and I think I did a pretty good job on those courses of breaking stuff down, and I plan on adding more to them. I'm going to add our clips from this year's fly stuff to it. And anybody who, if you buy the fly sweep course, like I say on there, I'll send you all the clips that I used for it in a huddle playlist, so you have them all. You don't just have to watch them via the Coach Tube. I'll send them to anybody. You just let me know that you bought it, and I can verify that, and you'll get them.
Heck yeah. Well, coaches, thank you so much for being here. I hope you use Google Classroom. I hope you run the fly. Hope you win on a ton of games, and I will see you later.